All right, let's jump right in. We're all taught to think about money as this numbers game, right? It's all about spreadsheets, complex formulas, market data. But here's the kicker. What if I told you that being good with money has almost nothing to do with how smart you are and everything to do with how your brain is wired?
And that really brings us to the core question here. Why do we see absolute geniuses go bankrupt while, seemingly ordinary people build these incredible fortunes? It just doesn't add up, does it? Well, we're going to pull back the curtain on exactly why that happens.
Okay, so here's the big disconnect. In school, we're taught to treat finance like it's physics, a hard science with these clean, predictable rules. But let's be real. When you're actually making a big money decision, is a spreadsheet calling the shots? No way. It's your own messy, human cocktail of fear, greed, your personal history, your baggage. At the end of the day, it's pure psychology. So to really get a handle on this, we're going to tackle some of the biggest money myths out there. We're talking about success, the danger of enough, why staying wealthy is a whole different ballgame, and so much more. Let's get into it. All right, first up, let's talk about this myth that we all love to believe, that financial success is a simple formula of hard work plus brilliant decisions. It's a great story for sure, but it's also dangerously incomplete. Just look at someone like Bill Gates. The guy is obviously brilliant. His work ethic is legendary. Nobody's denying that. But there's this huge factor that often gets glossed over: sheer dumb luck. He just happened to go to the only high school on the entire planet that had a computer back in the 1960s. Think about that. That's not just skill. That's basically winning the lottery. And that right there shows you the real picture, doesn't it? Success is never just one thing. It's this messy, tangled web of skill, luck, and luck's evil twin, risk. You can't pull them apart. And that's exactly why just trying to copy-paste what some billionaire did is almost always a terrible idea. Okay, so moving on to our next big idea. We're all conditioned to think that the goal in finance is just more, right? The goalpost has to keep moving forward forever. But this chase for more can be one of the absolute most destructive mindsets you can possibly have. Just take a look at the story of Rajat Gupta. This guy was at the absolute top of the mountain, former CEO of McKinsey, worth $100 million. He had it all. He had more than enough by any sane person's definition. But that goalpost just kept on moving for him. And he ended up throwing it all away, his reputation, his freedom, chasing even more through insider trading. He landed in prison. All because he didn't know when to stop. And that's the thing, right? This is probably the hardest skill in finance. It's not about making more money. It's about getting the goalpost to just stop moving. It's about defining what enough means for you and then having the discipline not to risk something you have and need for something you don't have and don't need. So this completely reframes the whole point of money, doesn't it? True wealth isn't about the number in your bank account getting bigger and bigger. It's about freedom. It's about waking up in the morning and being able to say, I can do whatever I want today. That kind of control over your own time, that's the real prize. And that leads us to this really interesting kind of backwards idea. We spend so much energy obsessing over how to get rich, but what if staying rich is actually the harder part? And maybe, just maybe, the more important part too. Think about it. Getting wealthy, that's all about taking risks, being optimistic, putting yourself out there. But staying wealthy, whoa, that's a totally different beast. It's about humility. It's about being a little bit afraid, even a little paranoid, because you know how quickly it can all vanish. They're two completely different skills. Let's use Warren Buffett as an example. Get this. Over 95% of his entire net worth was earned after he turned 65. Let that sink in for a second. 95%. That's not a typo. So what does that tell you? His real genius wasn't just picking a few amazing stocks. It was his ability to just not get wiped out. He simply survived. He stayed in the game long enough, decade after decade, to let the magic of compounding do its thing. His real superpower isn't stock picking, it's longevity. And this whole idea of just surviving leads to another concept that kind of breaks your brain a little. What if I told you that you could be flat out wrong, like 90% of the time, and still end up winning big? Sounds impossible, right? Well, it's a concept called tail events, or tails you win. The idea is that a tiny number of massive successes can completely dwarf all your failures. Let's make it simple. Imagine you invest $100 in 10 different projects. 9 of them completely crater. Total loss. Poof, $900 gone. But that 10th one, it explodes. It returns 100x. That one winner makes you $10,000. So even after losing 900, you walk away with a huge profit. That's how venture capital works. It's how the stock market works, really. A few big winners are doing all the heavy lifting. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about one of the biggest illusions out there when it comes to money. The myth that wealth is something you can see. You know the drill. You see the Ferrari, the designer watch, the giant mansion, and your brain instantly goes, wow, that person is so wealthy.
But let's be totally honest with ourselves for a second. When you see that person driving a Ferrari, what do you really think? Are you thinking, man, that driver must be an amazing person? Or is something else going on in your head?
It's called the man in the car paradox, and it's fascinating. You don't actually admire the driver. You're using their car as a mental billboard for your own fantasy. You're thinking, man, if I had that car, people would think I'm so cool. The irony is, the person spending all that money to get respect is basically invisible. It's this weird, pointless loop. And this all points to a really powerful core truth. Being rich is your current income. It's what you can spend. But wealth is what you don't spend. Wealth is hidden. It's the money in your investment accounts, quietly compounding, working for you while you sleep. It's the stuff nobody sees. Okay, this brings us to our last idea. And honestly, this might be the most important one of all. It's the myth that to be good with money, you have to be totally rational. You have to be like a computer, cold, calculating, and completely emotionless. I love this story. There's this guy, Harry Markowitz. He literally won a Nobel Prize in economics for creating the math for the most rational way to invest your money. So what did he do with his own retirement fund? He completely ignored his Nobel Prize winning formula. He just split his money 50-50 between stocks and bonds. Why? Because it helped him sleep at night. He knew it would minimize his future regret. He wasn't a robot. He was a human being. And that is the absolute key difference. Being rational is about finding the mathematically perfect answer on a spreadsheet, even if it makes you sick with anxiety. Being reasonable, on the other hand, is about acknowledging that you're human. It's about picking a strategy that you can actually stick with for the long haul because it gives you peace of mind. And let me tell you, a good plan that you actually follow is 1,000,000 times better than a perfect plan that you ditch the first time things get scary. So, I want to leave you with this one question to think about. Just for a moment, forget what's technically optimal. Forget the spreadsheets. What is one reasonable, not rational, but reasonable financial decision you could make today that would just help you sleep a little better tonight? Because at the end of the day, in the real world of money, that feeling, that peace of mind, that's often the best return you can ever hope for.